Welcome back to Next Level Pets, your home for all things related to living the best life you can with your pet and what to do once your pet has left your life and how to heal gracefully. So today I want to talk a little bit about the differences between human loss and pet loss and how we experience that grief differently. I wanted to make this video based on a comment somebody had left on another video because it really mirrored an experience that I had with my own loss experience, but also it's something that comes up a lot when I talk to my clients. So a few key differences between a human loss and when we lose one of our beloved pets. One, when we lose a human loved one, typically that experience is a shared experience. And what I mean by that is normally, you're going to suffer that loss with family members, friends. It's going to be much more of a communal grief experience. Other people will have relationships with your loved ones. So not only in just the process of our mourning, like in terms of a funeral or coming together to mourn that loss in a group, in a family with relatives, friends, coworkers, etc. That allows us to deal with the human loss much differently than when we lose one of our beloved animals. Typically, when we lose an animal, it's going to be a much more private grief experience, and that has its own challenges and complications as well. When I lost my mom and my cat in, literally within a few months of each other, I was mourning both equally but different. And it was also very hard for me to admit that. I just lost my mom, so to even mention that I was struggling with the loss of my pet in an equal yet different way felt shameful in a weird way, or that I was dishonoring the loss of my mom, which couldn't be further from the truth. But I was just experiencing both of these losses at the same time and really couldn't make heads or tail, of each and why both were so difficult. Well, obviously, I understood why they were so difficult, but it was just a very, very profound experience having both going on at the same time and having a different relationship to each loss. So going more into that, when we lose an animal, and again, this is in a general sense, every situation is different, but typically there's a lot of guilt associated with that loss. For example, I lost my mom due to cancer. Now, I may have had other reasons to feel guilty, like, I should have been a better son, or, typical things like that. And maybe I could have been there, for her more in the end, or I could have done things differently when I was a kid, been a better, more behaved child, etc. But I did not feel guilty personally that she had cancer. So the nature of her passing, I didn't bear this guilt over. And the reason why I distinguish that is when I had to put my cat down, Dublin, I did feel a tremendous amount of guilt. And I'll go into the very specific types of guilt that affect pet loss grief and really distinguish it from human loss in later videos. But just in an overall sense, I felt guilty that it was my fault that Dublin had gotten sick, that I didn't take him to the vet sooner, or that maybe I wasn't giving him the right food, that when I had to make the decision that it was time to put him down, maybe that was too early, that I could have enjoyed more time with him. Or on the opposite side of that, maybe I waited too long. Maybe I was selfish in not wanting to let him go, and I extended, possibly his discomfort or his suffering from my own personal need. All these different forms of guilt impact the loss of a pet much differently than the loss of a human. Again, in a very general sense, because again, every situation is different. But this also impacts and influences how we grieve and how we heal from each loss differently. If we do have the ability to talk to other people about human loss, other people that are feeling that loss as deeply as we are, that's incredibly helpful, so that we don't have the burden of the loss solely on our shoulders. When we lose a pet, again, typically it is a much more private loss. Even if it's a loss shared in just a small family unit, with your kids or your loved one, typically it's a very much more private experience. Adding on top of that, the guilt that we may feel, the responsibility that we may feel that we played in the end of their life can complicate our grief, can kind of keep us in a cycle of re-traumatizing ourselves, again, blaming ourselves for their passing, and really, really holding on to that loss in a way that isn't healthy, that doesn't promote our healing, that doesn't promote our gratitude and appreciation for the time that we spent with them, and it just delays our ability to heal and to move forward with grace. So I will get into this a lot more in depth in later videos, but it was just something that somebody had made a comment on a video, so I just really kind of wanted to react to it based on that, because it really mirrored my own experience. So just wanted to mention those few little details about what distinguishes human loss from pet loss. And again, I will go into the nuances and the specific details of this in greater depth in later videos. So please follow, like, comment for all things related on how to live the best life you can with your pet, how to prepare for the day when they leave us, and what to do after they have said farewell. So thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.